friends, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And we are looking at Patriots and Tyrants, a novel by Lauren Coleman. Right? So, one empire, two rivals, one battle for supremacy. And yes, I made notes. Right? I made notes. So, hey, before we do that, let's do this. Because I want you to be sure that we understand that this thing's going to happen. Alright? Alright. So we're all on the same damn page. There are spoilers in here. So, Arthur Steiner-Davion begins finding his place in the grand house built by his mother and father, finding his ear bent and often persuaded by the arguments of James Sandoval, Duke of the Draconis March. His older sister, Katrina, continues to plot and maneuver herself further into power, as Victor's relationship with Katrina also continues. While he's claiming no designs on the Fedcom throne, he still makes attempts to coach Peter in continues sticking his nose into the business of the Federated Commonwealth. Tancred Sandoval spars with Arthur while discussing the situation, and Tancred's father stares on and being prepared for the Combine's eventual attack on the Draconis March. Take that into account. The Sandoval's main goal as the March Prince, or the head of the Draconis March, is to protect that portion of the Federated Sons, or Federated Commonwealth, from predations and invasions of the Draconis Combine, which historically there are a lot of them, because historically the Davions have attacked into Katrina's space on a lot of regular basis. So then you have hundreds of years worth of this sort of, you kind of want to become obsessed and focused on your particular niche. Sometimes to the chagrin of the rest of the house, if you will. This is the downside of having some of the political system that's in play. And everybody answers to somebody else who answers to somebody else. Eventually you get to the top of the pyramid. So in the Federated Sons portion of the Federated Commonwealth, you have at the current point 3 March Lords, although eventually there'll be a periphery March, so there'll be 4, plus the first Prince. And then within a given march, there'll be scores of dukes and counts and barons and so on and so forth. That's just how the nobility system works, in tandem with a theoretically potent bureaucracy that's also partially driven by the popular vote or vote on the individual planets, because every planet, for the most part, is semi-autonomous, and they have a lot of say in how they run things, and it's just the nature of how this stuff kind of all pans out. So to have the potential heir of the Federated Commonwealth having his ear bent nonstop by the ideologies of a very devoted defender of one portion of the realm is not necessarily a good thing for the overall protection of the entire realm. And that's, of course, my opinion on things. So, being prepared for the Combine's eventual attack. Considering that the Davions attacked twice in the current era, that isn't until, I forget what year later, in several generations, that Katrina finally did attack, and with devastating results, lessons learned. So the very threats that Sandoval is trying to prepare against at the moment will eventually come, just in a later generation, as there's enough things going on at the plate for the current crop of Cretans and to deal with the dealing with the clans and the downturn of the clan invasion and the Battle of Tokyo and so on and so forth. So Tancred's attempt to rein in Arthur on Victor's behalf causes a rift between Tancred and his father, the Duke. So Tancred, once again, is the opposite side. The same reason things that that Victor is concerned that Arthur is spending too much time around a very xenophobic sans Cretan Duke Sandoval, is the same thing that Duke Sandoval was concerned that his son, having spent so much time in the care of people like Victor Davion and others of his type, have warped his sensibilities and his sense of duty towards to the march itself. And there's just something narrow-minded on the Duke's side of things, which makes him such a character, I guess. So Victor, meanwhile, and against his sister Catherine's wishes, has gone on some tour to tour some Conguard units within the Lyran alliance. Quietly, Omni joins him instead of returning home to Luthien. He is also joined by Isis Merrick. Isis finds herself without a home after Sunsow broke off their pending wedding, and she's not welcome back in her father's court, the fake Thomas Merrick's court. It is during this sudden meeting between Victor, Omni, and Isis that we are reminded, by way of lore, we are reminded that Victor knows Thomas Merrick is an imposter. You see that on page 97 when I read it exactly. The same assassin hired by Katrina Steiner-Davion to kill her mother stalks Omni Karita. Arthur Steiner-Davion is killed by explosions set by either Catherine or the Word of Blake. It's never quite 100% sure in the book, and I'm under the impression there's supposed to be more. There's another book in this. There's a series. And I don't know if I have the second book in the series. I thought I did, and I thought I picked up that Humble bundle, and I may yet have. I just have to go do my hunt down the damn thing and see what fell, because this book doesn't feel complete. The end of it is too much unknown stuff yet for me. The assassin's attack on Omni is thwarted by Isis Merrick and Victor's elemental bodyguard. Things begin to heat up as Victor calls for his banners and takes to the field. Numerous battles break out across the former FedCom. So at some point, Victor's convinced himself that the only way to stop Catherine is Catherine is to step up and do it himself, and especially with the death of his brother Arthur, and the fact that his sister, who's supposed to be the head of the Federated Sons portion, is also basically abdicated her position to Catherine, which is not necessarily a good thing down the road for everybody. Is the way they're looking at it. So things are starting to step up. In one such battle, Victor's forces face off against Adam Steiner. The battle is brutal, Victor being severely wounded and Adam captured. The book ends nearly a year has progressed in the FedCom Civil War. The Sandovals' father and son are in conflict over duty and loyalty. Victor presses forward while Catherine plots, and at the end, Arthur regains consciousness. So he's either killed or he's not killed. But once again, I don't have the follow-up book, and until I figure out what that is, I'm not sure how this is supposed to end. The thing is that Civil Wars are never a good thing, and Civil Wars in the inner sphere tend to be extremely brutal. Brutal on a local level and an intimate level. So the larger picture, the larger nation of the house isn't nearly as affected by these internal squabbles as key locations and power structures, because that's what's going to decide who's going to control things. So if we look at the current Empire Flames and Dominion's Divided era, the Damocles Sanction, just take a look at the Davion and Sandoval situation there. The fact is, it could go in either direction and easily do so, and in some arguments, rightfully so, depending on who you talk to, because some people say that, well, they have it coming. But it's like the Civil War section. The Federated Sons has suffered several massive, terrible civil wars in its existence, and the one between Victor and Katrina was one of them, obviously, but not the only one. The irony's not lost on me there is that Katrina's methodology, probably more than anything else, is what comes back and gets her, because she doesn't know when to quit. And truth is, she probably could have ended up in power anyway if she'd have just handled things a little bit more personal. It's obvious to anybody that Victor really did not want to be the head of the Federated Commonwealth. He came back a changed individual. War does that to people, and his whole entire focus was was damn determined to pursue the clans and some kind of settlement with the clans in the inner sphere, and we see that with the conclusion of Battle of Tukiat and the destruction of the Smoke Jaguars. At that point, he could have easily retired to a garden somewhere and never been an active participant in anything again if people just had left him alone. Instead, he was kind of weaseled into a position of seeing what the excesses and power struggle or power driven actions of his sister to made him have to make a decision on a moral ground, because he's that kind of a person. Victor is. There are some aspects of Victor Steiner-Davion that is so much a reminiscent of Ian Davion, his great uncle. Right? Just pointing out that. And we talk about genetics, and when we seen Victor paired up with Kai Liao, there's another element of perfection from the gene pool of natural selection. The man was just a bloody genius, and between the two of them together, were unstoppable. And that's just the truth. Unfortunately, time takes its toll, and their interests separate, and they go their own way, and they're both weaker for that, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? So this is a great book. If you guys can get your hands on it, it's well worth the read. I'm telling you, it really sets the tone. We'll get a little bit of an idea what's going on in behind the scenes. We actually see how ISIS ISIS were our own worst enemy. At the end of the day, she got shafted. She got taken advantage of by everybody, then cast aside. And she still has a valuable position and some role that she could be playing. And we see the internal assassination and how things work, and how at one point this assassin had been captured by Victor Davion and his people, and they let him go. They damn near cost them their lives again. And there's another hint toward the end of the book that hints at Omni Karita being pregnant, yet it's not explored, so I don't know how further progressed that is. I read about that somewhere else in a bit of on Sarnanet. I think I stumbled across it, so there's a distinct possibility that there is a Davion Karita bloodline out there now somewhere. Just saying, right? Anyway, it's a good book, folks. Just saying, right?